Welcome to Digital Marketing for Contractors, a podcast for home improvement contractors to help you crush your lead goals and take your business to the next level. Join us each episode as we give you powerful insights and practical tips on the best digital marketing strategies to help you grow your home improvement business. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Digital Marketing for Contractors. This is a podcast hosted by Fat Cat Strategies. We are a full-service digital marketing agency located in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we work with home improvement contractors just like you to drive leads, sales, and growth through digital marketing. My name is Janet, and I am the founder and managing partner. Today, I have Jack with me. Say hey, Jack.
How we doing, everyone? My name is Jack Yankoviak. I'm the PPC specialist here at Fat Cat Strategies. What are we talking about today, Janet?
Well, we're talking about sort of a cautionary tale, and this is something that we've actually experienced with some of our clients before. I don't know if our listeners know this, but there are some pretty detailed policies when it comes to the online advertising platforms that we all know and love. And today we're going to talk a lot about Google Ads. So those are the paid search ads, not your organic SEO search result, but the paid ads that either show up at the top of the page or the top of your phone when you search on something. That is an ad platform that has a whole list of terms and conditions. And if you are let's say you're a siding contractor and you're running some ads to appeal to local homeowners so you can go on some siding appointments, when you run ads on that platform, you are the advertiser and you have to play by their rules. Now, what we have come to learn and experience and we've done it just by being in the industry, is that if you violate enough of the rules, Google can not only pause your ads, but if it's an egregious enough violation, you can be barred from advertising at all. And if it's bad enough, Google can say, hey, company, not only are we not going to let you run your ads right now, we're never going to let you advertise with us again. So this is a cautionary tale. I just wanted to, touch on some of these topics because I don't think a lot of contractors are aware of this. So Jack, why don't you walk us through some of the high-level bullet points of what an advertiser could do that would be in violation of Google's policies that would get their ad account turned off?
Yeah, so just to summarize some of the main reasons before we dive into the specifics on each, the most common reasons that an ad account will be suspended are for creating multiple different ad accounts for the same company, same website.
And I'm going to circle back on that one once you go through your list.
Misleading or deceptive content within the ads, otherwise known as cloaking, violation of ad policies, circumventing systems, unacceptable business practices, phishing and malware, billing and payment issues, violations of user safety and privacy, advertising restricted products and services, misuse of the ad network, and then also content violations.
So that list probably sounds like we're reading from some sort of legal document. So let's kind of break down just a few of those examples that are maybe the most likely things that our listeners might accidentally do. And the very first one that you mentioned is multiple ad accounts. And this is something that we have 100% run into. We have not done it for our clients. What we've done is we've encountered a client that came to us after their ad account was shut down and they were kind of freaking out. It was a company that was a high volume home improvement, installing multiple different products, really successful company, doing great, and was generating a really significant portion of their monthly leads that they needed. They were generating them from their Google ad account. So when that got shut down, the faucet got turned off. Their sales reps were sitting idle. They were not running appointments. They were not selling jobs, and they were not installing stuff. So let's break down what happened with why that ad account got shut down. The short version of this story is I think it was an owner who thought they were doing the best for their company. And I totally get it. What this owner did was they were already working with one agency, and then they went out and hired another agency without telling the first agency. And I can kind of see the logic in that. You feel like, if one of something is good, then two of something is better. And I know a lot of our listeners will have multiple lead sources. Like you might work with multiple lead aggregators. You might buy leads from Quinn Street or Modernize and Home Advisor. So it kind of stands to reason. If you're buying leads from multiple lead aggregators, why wouldn't you have two different agencies running two different ad accounts to kind of maximize your opportunity to show up on Google? Well, that's what they did. But that's a violation of the policy. So they actually had two different websites, two different ad accounts for the same business at two different domain names. And in one of the accounts, they had ads going to both websites. All of that is a violation. So it was a real mess to untangle, because the other thing that happens is if you run afoul of some of these policies, and you kind of do it innocently. And in this instance, I really do think that the owner ran afoul of this policy kind of innocently, thinking that they were doing the best thing for their business. When you do that, if you get your account shut down and you start to have conversations with a Google rep, they will not tell you what you did to violate their policy. They will only say, you violated our policy and you have to fix it. And then if you ask your rep, how do I fix it? The rep says, I can't tell you. And the reason they do that is because, and that also makes sense. If Google was very open with all of the advertisers to say, well, this is what you did wrong and this is how to fix it, then they would be training bad actors about how to, do an end run around their policies. So that was the first bullet. I'll let you take some of these other bullets, but I did want to break down that multiple ad account violation, because it is something that can really bite you in the butt. And if you don't get it resolved, you could end up in a situation where you've got a multi-million-dollar company that relies on Google Ads, and suddenly that is no longer an option for you. And if you really go astray with Google, they can shut you out permanently.
Exactly. Aside from that multiple ad accounts issue that we just discussed, the second most likely reason that people in the home services or contracting industry might see their ad account suspended is for billing and payment issues.
Break that down for me. What do you mean by that?
So this one is related to issues with your payment methods, whether it be an outdated card or canceled bank account, failed payments. I don't really think we've never seen this before, but using a stolen credit card.
No, we've never seen that. We've definitely seen expired dates on credit cards, and that's just easy to fix. But
yeah, luckily the billing and payment issues tend to be much more straightforward to fix, because the issue is with your payment method. So getting that information updated, corrected, and then reaching back out to your Google rep just to confirm, most of the times will resolve that issue. So that is much easier to solve than the first, but also tends to be fairly common.
Well, what are some other things that you listed a whole, kind of top 10 list at the top of the episode. What are some other things that home services and home improvement contractors might run into that they didn't know was a policy violation?
So another more subtle one can be violation of ad policies. And again, this tends to be far less common for contractors and home service businesses, but normally when we see issues here, it tends to do with financing offers. Just because financial services are considered a restricted advertising category within Google. Mm-hmm. In most cases, that applies to like banks, credit cards, things like that. But sometimes
so is it the language in the financing offer?
It's a lot of times the language, and depending on how the financing offer is structured, it can be an issue with that itself. If the financing offer is considered to be in any way discriminatory, that can be an issue.
We're talking mostly about Google, but this is reminding me, I have actually seen that with Facebook. Because Facebook is so great because you can really dial in your audience, and you can say homeowners in these zip codes. And and you can say above these ages or below these ages. And I think that's where we've actually had an ad be flagged because we got too specific on the demographics, and then Meta's policy said, hey, you can't discriminate.
Exactly. Yeah, we've actually, and a lot of times when it happens with Meta, it's a less severe issue where they won't really suspend the full account. They'll just
won't run that
reject
ad.
that ad.
Yeah.
But we have seen that before with certain types of financing offers. You can't use certain demographic targeting, for example, because that's considered discriminatory. So you just have to be mindful of things like that when it comes to your offers and whether or not they're actually in violation of the advertising policies on these different platforms.
I'm looking at my notes. I'm looking at another one of the issues that people could run into, and it's phishing and malware. I do not believe anybody who's listening to this podcast is blatantly and intentionally putting together some sort of phishing or malware scam. But if your site has been compromised and you don't know it, you could have pages on your site that have malware on them, and then you've got a legitimate ad account running ads to a page that's been compromised. So I didn't know if you had any more insights on that issue.
I haven't dealt with that specific issue before. I have worked with a couple of larger healthcare companies that have had unfortunate incidences of data breaches. Luckily, it didn't seem to go as far as actually a full-on infiltration into the website. But yes, that can certainly be an issue, and that also sort of ties into the user safety and privacy aspect of this too.
What's that about?
If you fail to protect your users' personal information that they give to you, or you use it in a way that they essentially didn't give you permission to, that can create an issue not only for your Google Ads accounts, but if it's a large enough issue, that can be lawsuits. I know Google itself it might even still be open, has several lawsuits on that front. And actually, a lot of the ad accounts I was working with were subpoenaed.
Oh.
It wasn't agency specific, but Google basically sent out subpoenas to all of their different advertisers just to basically get account data that they could use in a court case to show that the user data wasn't actually in violation. Wow.
So, are there any other, I'm looking back through this list. So many of these things, I've never seen any of our clients or anybody in the industry, in the home improvement industry, run afoul of some of these things. The most common thing we see is billing and payment issues, and it's an easy fix.
Yep.
And we just update the credit card. We have actually seen the multiple ad account issue where the ad accounts were shut down and the advertiser was threatened with never being able to advertise on Google again. We have seen that. Some of these other things, like, we've read about them, but I haven't personally encountered them. But it's worth just letting people know, hey, you're advertising on a platform that has rules and regulations, and if you violate them, you're going to get your account shut down.
Exactly. Yeah. The only other one I'd like to bring up and talk about, not because we see that often, but just with the way that digital marketing and the trends that are emerging, I think might become more common, is misleading or deceptive content, otherwise known as cloaking.
What do you mean by cloaking?
So this one's a bit tough to define. It's almost like a catch in the NFL where I can't really explain it to you, but I know it when I see it.
Oh, now you're talking sports, so you're going to fail to explain any of that to me.
The exact definition of cloaking, I believe, is showing different content to a browser or web crawler than you do to the individual user.
Oh.
But there are exceptions to that rule that would fit that literal definition of cloaking, but aren't egregious enough to the point where you'll see your ad account suspended. One example of that we've recently started doing for a lot of our clients is dynamic landing pages.
Ah, I was just sitting here thinking, well, how does that jive with dynamic content?
So we haven't seen the main way we currently use dynamic landing pages is we essentially pass user location data from Google Ads through to the landing page and use that to update content on the landing page. So rather than
a generic headline, like we're sitting in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yep.
Are you looking for a car wash in Raleigh, North Carolina? Is that what you're saying? Like you
Yeah.
grab my location and then stick it in the headline.
Yeah, exactly. So you can have like a default generic car wash in North Carolina.
Best roofing contractor in Nightdale.
Yep. And then essentially we'll pass through the user's location all the way through that landing page, and that content will update to be specific to the user's location. So that's how we use it, which, again, technically by that definition of showing different content to...
Yeah, I wonder, would a bot look at that and say, we're cloaking? I doubt it, but...
So that's by the exact definition, we are, but we've never seen any issues with ads as a result of that because it is so minor of an infraction. And honestly, the way we do it is by using what are known as parameters that Google Ads has created.
Inside of Google Ads, you can have variables.
Yeah.
So they'd have to look in the mirror if they didn't like that practice. Okay, so let's move on to like, what can you do if you have your ad account suspended? What's the first thing you should do?
So the first thing you should do is fight the urge to create a new ads account.
Amen to that, because that is going to be the worst thing you can do, and that's the one time that we've seen somebody almost get kicked off of the entire platform. Don't go create a new account.
It's not as simple as, oh, this one's chalked, I'm going to dump it and start new. It's not going to work like that. Google will know that you're still that same company. You're still trying to send ads to that same website. It's going to still see that you've got that other suspended account, and now you've just essentially spawned a new head on the Hydra.
Right. So what else? So let's say, our listener has encountered this. They've got an issue with their Google ad account. Maybe they've been doing it themselves. They don't have an agency. What else? What's on the list of things that they should do to address this?
I would also take the time to learn about the appeals process. Make sure that you are resolving all of your transgressions and putting together a solid appeal rather than treating it like normal customer service, because Google is not normal customer service where you're going to reach out and expect the representative to really work with you and help you. That's
Good
just
luck
not the
trying
case.
To call Google.
Yeah.
You will not. You will be unlikely to succeed if you try to call anybody.
That is just not the case with Google, unfortunately. You can call and get through to ads, but most of those people that you will talk to are ads salespeople and not actually people who can help you with a support request and run it up the flagpole.
So how are people supposed to communicate with Google?
So Google has a support site, a support channel where you are directed to an online web form. You select what specific issue you're appealing. It will show you some help articles, like a normal help section, and then you basically collect different documentation, explain what happened, what steps you've taken to resolve it, and then basically submit it to Google for a review. And that correspondence all happens over email. So this can take, on a good day, you can expect to hear back within a week. I've personally had scenarios where it's taken up to a month to hear back.
At the top of the episode, when I was talking about the client that we helped them get back on Google, their previous agency had worked on this issue. I'm trying to remember. It was at least 3 months, and it might have been like 5 or 6. That they were unable to, run ads on their most successful channel. And then when we got involved, it probably took us another 4 or 5 weeks to get it resolved.
And especially when it's a more nuanced issue like having multiple different ad accounts open, it can take 6 months, a year, because it's not like when you submit that support request, you've got a dedicated account person working on that request. Essentially, you're going to be submitting that request. It's going to go through to essentially a pool of different support professionals.
It's almost like a support ticket.
Yeah. They're going to look at your request, look at why it was suspended, see if you've checked the boxes to justify them unsuspending your account, And if you don't, they're going to say, oh, sorry, still suspended. You're still in violation of this policy. And they'll tell you the policy, but they won't tell you what specifically is in violation or how to fix it.
No.
So
that's what's so maddening about it. It's a guessing game.
And if you don't have that appeal pretty ironclad the first time through, it's just going to get kicked back to the start. So you're just going to be submitting a request again once that's closed out, after you try and look to see why it still is suspended, what you still need to fix. You're basically kicked back to square one.
Okay, so I think we've covered this topic pretty well. I don't think it's something that our listeners are going to, hopefully they never encounter, but should you have an issue, we've given you some high-level bullet points. We're also going to have a guide on our website. You can go to fatcatstrategies.com and go to our resources section and download our comprehensive guide on avoiding Google ad issues and suspensions. And if you would like to reach out to us to get some insight on how we can help you advertise on Google, we'd love to hear from you. This has been another episode of Digital Marketing for Contractors with Fat Cat Strategies. Thank you for listening.
Digital Marketing for Contractors is created by Fat Cat Strategies. For more information, visit fatcatstrategies.com.